You know what's funny? Italy hasn't won a war in over 80 years. But somehow, we conquered your living room. Not with tanks, not with missiles, but with a couch so beautiful you can't afford to sit on it. We don't run Silicon Valley, we don't control NATO. But when your favorite billionaire wants to look important, he buys a villa in Tuscany, he drives a Ferrari, and he wears something inspired by Milan, usually made in China. But let's not ruin the mood. This isn't about fashion. This is about power, disguised as a cappuccino. Because Italy didn't conquer you with armies. We conquered you with aesthetics. And the most dangerous empire is the one you don't even realize you're living inside of. The funny thing is, we didn't plan this. There's no secret Italian marketing agency that said, let's conquer the world with velvet and attitude. No, it started with chaos. Italy was a mess for centuries. Divided, invaded, broke. But through all of it, one obsession never collapsed. How things looked. In Florence, they were inventing perspective, before France even bothered to pick up a fork. Yes, a fork. While French kings were stabbing meat like cavemen, Italians were redesigning reality with geometry. Perspective turned into painting. Painting turned into propaganda. And propaganda, my friends, is eternal. In Venice, they were making glass so perfect it looked like alien royalty had ordered it. The Republic literally passed a law in 1291 to move all the glass furnaces to Murano. Not just to stop fires, but to keep the secrets locked away. That's not just design, that's espionage. Italian style. So while other countries were perfecting swords, taxes, and polite table manners, Italians were perfecting the art of looking good while falling apart. And that is how you build an empire that outlasts politics. Fast forward to the 20th century, while other countries were busy building bombs, we were busy building espresso machines and leather jackets. Because if we're going to blow ourselves up, at least let's look fantastic doing it. The world collapsed twice. Italy came out of World War II, scarred, poor, and half in ruins. And yet, we walked out like a wounded movie star, broke, limping, but with perfect cheekbones and sunglasses. That's the Italian miracle nobody talks about. And then came the real invasion. Not of soldiers, but of scooters. Not of tanks, but of tiny Fiats. Not of generals, but of designers with measuring tape around their necks. The Vespa became the vehicle of freedom. And the Fiat 500, that was democracy on four wheels. Small, affordable, stylish. Italians exported dignity in a box with an engine. Hollywood was selling cowboys. Germany was selling efficiency. The Soviets were selling paranoia. And Italy, we were selling taste. The 1950s and 60s gave us La Dolce Vita. Not just a film, but a way of life. Rome became a catwalk of movie stars. Milan became the design capital of the planet. And suddenly, a country that couldn't keep a government alive for more than 6 months was dictating how the world dressed, sat, drove, and even flirted. This wasn't by accident. Italy had no political empire left, no economic supremacy, no military worth bragging about. So we weaponized the only thing we had left, aesthetics, and it worked. Because while empires fold, a Gucci handbag outlives them all. Today, Made in Italy is more than a label, it's a religion. People see those 3 words, and suddenly their credit card starts sweating. Why? Because it doesn't say made in a factory. It says made in a fantasy. But here's the inconvenient secret. A lot of what you imagine was stitched by some old man in Sicily while quoting Dante was probably finished in a supply chain PowerPoint presentation. Because luxury isn't about where it's made. It's about where the story takes you. Let me explain. The European Union has this little trick called last substantial transformation. It means if the final glamorous step of making your handbag happens in Italy, boom, congratulations, it's Italian. The leather might have been tanned in Asia. The zipper might have been made in Turkey. The logo might have been printed by some underpaid intern in Milan. But the last step, that's enough to baptize it as Italian. It's not craftsmanship, it's paperwork. And Italians, we are masters at paperwork, especially when it comes to avoiding taxes. So, of course, we turned it into an art form. Let's talk about Prato, a city in Tuscany. Once the proud heart of Italian textiles, today it's filled with Chinese-run factories producing made-in-Italy fashion at lightning speed. Do they deliver the quality? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But do they deliver the illusion? Always, because the illusion is the product. And the luxury houses, they know this. They don't just sell bags, they sell bedtime stories. Your grandfather in Sicily stitched this bag by hand while sipping espresso and listening to opera. No, your bag was machine-stitched in a fluorescent-lit warehouse that smelled more like instant noodles than Nonna's kitchen. But here's the thing, nobody cares. Because luxury isn't about reality. It's about performance. It's about who lies better, with better lighting. And Italians, Dio mio, we've been lying beautifully since the Roman Senate. So yes, made in Italy is half myth, half reality, and entirely genius. Because when you buy Italian luxury, you're not buying fabric, you're buying theater. And every time you unzip that bag, you're applauding the show. You know what Italy exports more than pasta, shoes, or handbags? Drama, not chaos, drama. The good kind. The kind that makes even your enemies stop and clap before they stab you. Take opera. Before Hollywood, before Netflix, before TikTok influencers crying into ring lights, Italians were selling tickets for 3-hour performances of people singing about betrayal, revenge, and tragic love affairs. Basically, it was Bravo TV, but with better costumes and actual talent. You think a Taylor Swift breakup is dramatic? Puccini was out here killing heroines with tuberculosis in Act 3 and still selling out theaters. And the audience loved it because Italians knew feelings sell better than facts. And it didn't stop at opera. Look at Italian politics. Other countries have governments. Italy has seasons, like TV shows. You never know who the prime minister will be next season, but you know it'll be dramatic. One day it's Berlusconi hosting bunga bunga parties. The next, it's a technocrat with all the charisma of a tax form. Then it's someone's cousin who wandered in and accidentally formed a coalition. That's not dysfunction, that's choreography. It's statecraft as performance art. Other countries try to rule. Italy entertains. And somehow it works, because at least we're honest that the show is part of the system. And don't get me started on soccer. Other nations play football. Italy performs it. A simple foul turns into a Shakespearean death scene. Player falls, clutches his chest, rolls 17 times, looks to the heavens, and then jumps up like nothing happened when the ref pulls out the yellow card. That's not cheating, that's acting, that's cultural heritage. Every match is part war, part theater, part family dinner argument. And the world watches, because nobody stages a tragedy like Italy. See, drama is Italy's soft power. We don't need aircraft carriers or nukes. We just need you to feel something. Opera made you cry, soccer made you scream, fashion made you desire, food made you nostalgic for a grandmother you don't even have. That's not entertainment, that's emotional colonization. And here's the secret. The world copied it. Hollywood blockbusters, just opera with explosions, Latin American telenovelas, Italian melodrama in Spanish, French cinema. Okay, they smoke more, but still a melodrama. Even TikTok trends, the exaggerated hand gestures, the emotional monologues into the camera, all very Italian. You think the crying influencer invented that? Number that's basically Verdi with a ring light. And the funniest part, the drama works because it's mixed with beauty. When Italians collapse, we collapse stylishly. Rome didn't just burn, it burned inverse. Even our defeats look cinematic. We lose wars, but we win Oscars. So while other countries were perfecting taxes, armies, and supply chains, Italians were perfecting emotional manipulation. And that became our most powerful export. You don't buy a Gucci bag. You buy the fantasy of the man who stitched it while whispering poetry. You don't watch a Serie A match. You watch a 3-act play disguised as sport. You don't drink espresso. You sip concentrated drama in liquid form. That's why Italy, despite being broke, chaotic, and allergic to functioning governments, still lives rent-free in your head. Because once you've tasted the drama, once you've felt the theater of being Italian, you can't go back to normal. A German car may last longer, an American phone may have better apps, but an Italian moment, that lasts forever. Because it hits you in the heart, not the wallet. So no, Italy doesn't have soft power. Italy is soft power, and the drama is the empire you didn't even realize you were living inside of. Italy has never been good at invading other countries, but invading taste, that we do better than anyone. Let's start with pizza. Once upon a time in Naples, it was the food of the poor. Cheap bread, a little tomato, maybe some cheese if you were lucky. Fast forward to today. In America, it's a $1 billion industry. And somehow you managed to put pineapple on it. Congratulations! You took our poverty food, franchised it, and then committed culinary war crimes. But pizza was just the beginning. Look at cars. For Americans, a Ferrari is not a car. It's a status symbol. You don't buy a Ferrari to drive it. You buy it to let it sit in your garage like a very expensive piece of red gilt. Meanwhile, in Italy, the Fiat 500 was the real revolution. Tiny, practical, beautiful. That was mobility for the masses. But of course, Americans didn't want practical. They wanted horsepower and bankruptcy. And then there's fashion. In Milan, designers were inventing silhouettes that could turn a walk into a sermon. In New York, they turned it into fast fashion. Disposable clothes made to fall apart faster than your latest relationship. That's not Italian style. That's a crime scene with polyester. You see, America took Italian aesthetics and did what America does best. It scaled them, it industrialized them, it turned them into a franchise. You took our espresso, a sacred 30 seconds of life in a tiny cup, and turned it into a bucket with whipped cream and sprinkles that takes 10 minutes to pronounce. That's not coffee, that's dessert with a trust fund. But let's be honest, this is how power works. Italy creates symbols. The world copies them, and America sells them back to the world with extra sugar and an Instagram filter. We invented taste. You invented marketing. And together, we created capitalism with better lighting. So yes, maybe the pizza is wrong. Maybe the espresso is too big. But the fact that the whole world is still copying Italy, even when they get it wrong, that's the real invasion. And it's the only one we've ever won. So how did Italy take over the aesthetic world? It's simple. We never separated beauty from survival. For us, design was never decoration. It was dignity. When you have no empire, no army, no money, you pour your pride into marble, fabric, and a cup of coffee so small it could start a revolution. You can mock us for being dramatic, for our obsession with espresso rituals, for our shoes that cost more than a month's rent, for our chairs that look uncomfortable but belong in a museum. But look around you. Everyone is trying to live like us without ever admitting it. Your billionaires buy Tuscan villas. Your politicians wear suits cut like Roman senators. Your tech bros sip watered-down cappuccinos and call it innovation. Italy didn't conquer you with armies. We conquered you with aesthetics. And once you start living in our empire of taste, you can never escape it. So yes, maybe Italy is chaotic, broke, corrupt, and allergic to functioning governments. But when it comes to beauty, we are undefeated. We did not give the world stability, we gave the world style. And style, my friends, is the most addictive form of power. I'm Professor Vito, and if you think style doesn't matter, try sitting on a plastic chair while your neighbor has an Italian sofa. Trust me, you'll feel the empire. And speaking of empires, next time we're going deeper. Not into Gucci or Ferraris, but into the Romans. Because what the Roman Empire taught Apple about control will make you see your iPhone very differently.